welcome to Funscale Models. This series is focusing on building the Funscale Parked Flyer P40C Tomahawk. In this episode, we'll be continuing construction on the wing. We're ready to begin construction of the wing. We're going to start with the center section first. I've got all the parts laid out here. I'm first going to go ahead and pin this in place. I'm using these a little bit longer than normal pins. And I'm also going to use T-pins to keep this from moving. As well as my blocks to make sure that I'm 90 degrees, which I am. Next, I'm going to lay out the bottom stringers. Now, these pieces I've cut are bigger than needed. Really, the intention is to be able to trim them off at a later point in time. So we've got W1. So let's go ahead and set these in place. Yep, that'll work. This one here. Just for now, I'm eyeballing them. It doesn't have to be perfect at this moment. We'll go ahead and we'll set this in place. We just need to move these around to make sure that So with this in place, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tack glue the front of W1. Again, making sure we keep that it's 90 degrees up. And with our alignment, I'm going to use some additional pins to keep the part from moving around. Alright, so again we're checking here and there to make sure that we're 90 degrees, which we are. Making sure that these are in alignment to the plan. And we'll go ahead and we'll add the W2s at this time. And we'll press down, make sure that it's set up, and do the same thing for the other side. Use that exterior line as our guide. We'll also want to make sure that we don't have any bows in this because this is a critical gluing surface. So that looks good. That looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to secure this front W2 in place. Using the block and the triangle to make sure that we're 90 degrees. Check back here, and that alignment looks good. Now with that attached, I'm going to use this excess over here to help hold it flat against the board. And same thing here. We'll remove these in a little later. And we'll do the same thing for this piece, this W2, right here. Again, checking to make sure that it's not warped. Ensure that it's 90 degrees and that it's in alignment with the marks on the plans. go ahead and remove that. We'll add the top stringers, but first we'll move T1, TE1, excuse me, in location. The reason why I didn't pin this to begin with is in case there's any slight adjustment that you need to do later. But this looks good. And we'll go ahead and we'll tack it in place. Before we add the stringers, we need to add these. These are the servo mounting rails. They slide in here and get mounted like that. But before we can do that, we need to put a piece of scrap between the top of this stringer and the bottom of this one. So I've got some 3/32 extra here from the kit. I've marked that. We'll go ahead and we'll cut it. It's just a little bit wide, so we'll need to sand it down. We want it to not make any major impact the alignment of those ribs, so we just need to sand it as needed. Okay. Then I'm going to come in from the side here and mark the appropriate height. And transfer it there. And sand it as needed. I'll do the same for this section here and these section as well. We have all four pieces now in place. Let's go ahead and glue them. That's drying, we'll go ahead and we'll slide in our mounting pieces. And we're going to glue it against the parts we just added. And then this one will get glued in once we add this cross piece. So I'll go ahead and remove these pins for now. I am going to keep one back here. We'll add our cross stringer. Come out just a little bit more, make it easier for trimming later. And then our last piece gets mounted right here up against that stringer. Just like that. And again, I'm just eyeballing this to make sure it's level. It doesn't have to be over the top, but just making sure. Later on, we'll mount the servos and put the screws in through here. So let's add the rest of the top stringers. Alright, so this is thoroughly dried. I'm going to go ahead and remove the pins from the board as well as the part. Go ahead and just trim that up right now. Let's see if it pulls off. There's a couple spots where we got some additional glue. So I'm going to use a ruler to kind of get underneath it and pop it free. Okay, a little bit comes off and we'll sand that later. Let's go ahead and trim the additional stringer lengths off. Okay, so I'm going to quickly check, just make sure that there wasn't any stringers that I missed. These all seem to be pretty well locked in place. So I missed this one here. Come back and glue that. The rest of these seem to be good as well. So last little bit, I'm not going to shape the leading edge at this time. I'll do that a little bit later. But I am going to go ahead and give the edges a good sanding. I'm going to use my block sander for that and just gently sand the surface. Just like we did with the fuselage, you don't want to put a ton of pressure on that because it won't take much to potentially destroy the structure. So just take your time. Also supporting the back of it with my fingers here as I sand it. Okay, that center section is complete. Next we'll set up for one of the outer panels.